Unreal Engine version 5.6 has made it incredibly easy to create high-quality facial motion capture without breaking your bank. And in this tutorial, I will show you how to convert video footage into facial animations to be used on a MetaHuman. And then we will use these animations to create a reaction system. So a system that allows you to make any MetaHuman character, or any character really with facial animations, to react to the player's actions in shock, awe, happiness, surprise, whatever you can act out, you can put in your game. So let's see how we're going to do that. So the first thing we need to do is actually capture footage of our face doing the reactions and animations or facial expressions. So to do that, I'm using the Rokoko Headcam, and a big thanks to Rokoko for sponsoring this video and sending me the headcam to try out. This is a very lightweight and easy to use camera that you can just wear on your head like this. It has LEDs that can light up your face to get better quality motion capture, and it just connects to my Android phone. And then using any third-party camera app that supports an external camera, you can start recording using this camera. Now, of course, you can use any other camera. It doesn't necessarily have to be this camera, but if you want to do full body motion capture as well, or if you want to move around while you're recording with this headcam, this one is very easy to use and very lightweight, as opposed to having an iPhone attached to this, which gets very uncomfortable after some time. So we're going to be using this to record our facial expressions. Alright, so now that I captured a bunch of facial reactions of myself, I imported them into DaVinci Resolve, or really any other video editing software, just to separate each reaction into its own file. And now we're ready to launch Unreal 5.6. And if you want to use the MetaHuman editor in the engine, you need to make sure on your installed Unreal 5.6 version, go to Options and make sure that the MetaHuman Creator core data is installed. This will allow you to use the MetaHuman editor in the engine. We're not going to be using the MetaHuman Creator in the engine today, but we're just going to be adding a MetaHuman, though you might want to edit your MetaHuman before adding it, so make sure this is enabled. And then we're just going to launch UE 5.6. All right, and we're going to create a third-person project. Let's name it something like Reactions System, something like that. I'm just going to create that. I don't need any variant. I'm just going to keep the default third-person variant. Right, and with the engine open, the first thing you want to do is make sure you have all the right plugins enabled. So go to Plugins and search for MetaHuman. You're going to want to enable, well, mainly for our use case, we want the live link, but if you want to also use the MetaHuman editor, just make sure to enable all of the MetaHuman plugins here. So you're going to need all of them if you want to edit a MetaHuman. And we're just going to restart the engine. All right, so now we're ready to add our MetaHuman. So we're going to go over to the quick add here and go to Quixel Bridge. And we are going to go to our MetaHuman presets. And I'm just going to use a MetaHuman preset. I think there was one called Tray or something like that. Yeah, that one. So that one I already have downloaded, so I can just click on it and say add. You probably have to download and add it if you don't have it downloaded, and you need to log in as well. So I'm just going to say import and migrate. All right, and we're going to need to restart the engine again after we do that. And now we should have our MetaHuman right here in our MetaHumans folder. And if we open up Tray, there's going to be a blueprint created with our MetaHuman in it. And there's Tray. Now, you're going to notice the hair has LODs that change depending on how far you are from the MetaHuman. Just to keep them rendered at all time, you can change the forced LOD to 0, so then the facial hair is always rendered. Right, and now we're ready to use Live Link to ingest our video data. So we just go up here to Tools and search for Live Link Hub. This is a new addition to Unreal 5.6. Live Link itself is not new, but the Live Link Hub in the engine is new. So what we want to do is change this drop down here from Live Data to Capture Manager, and we are going to say Add Device, And the device we want is mono video ingest, because we are ingesting a mono video. So it's not a depth video. And then down here, when you select it down here in the take directory, we're just going to choose the folder that we have this stored. So I have it here in a videos folder, so I'm just going to choose that folder. And it's going to find all of the videos in that folder. So I have some old ones, I have some new ones, and I'm going to select the ones that I want to ingest. So I'm going to select these ones, and just going to say add to queue. And then it's going to add them to this jobs list, and I can just say start, and it will start the ingest process. All right, and now that it's done, we can close Live Link Hub. We don't need that anymore. And you will see here in our content folder, there's a new Capture Manager folder, and it's created all of these things out of our video. We won't need to actually use this Capture Manager folder, but we are going to use data from it. So now the way to turn this data that we have in the Capture Manager to actual MetaHuman animations is through something called a performance capture. So let's create a new folder here and call it performance capture. And I'm gonna right click and search for MetaHuman performance. This is what you want. I'm just going to call this MHP facial expressions. And let's open it up. All right, so there are a few settings we want to change here. The first and most important one is input type from depth footage to monocular footage, because it's a mono video again. And then we choose our capture data. So the capture data will be what came out of the Live Link Hub, what we have here in this Capture Manager. So I can select one of the takes, for example, this one here, and it will just be this angry facial expression. It also has audio. I don't really need the audio, but yeah, you can just delete it if you don't want it. But yeah, it's not really important here because we're only using animations. But we also want to change a few things. So for the visualization mesh, we want to search for the name of our MetaHuman. So I want to see how it's going to look like on my tray, MetaHuman, and on that face mesh specifically. If you move the clip, nothing will happen now because you have to actually start the process. But a few more options to be aware of is also this head movement. So I might have head movement, like my head is moving in the video itself, but you may want to disable head movement if you have the head movement coming from your actual body animation. Or if you want the head movement to be taken from the video, you can enable it, but generally you want that from the full body animation. That would be moving the head. So for me, I'm going to keep it as disabled. And then we just click process. And this will go over the footage, and you see here it's creating the facial animation for it. And it is quite accurate, I have to say, just based on monocular footage. And then after that, all I want to do is export it to an animation. So let's go here, create a new folder, call it facial animations. And let's put this here, anim_angry, something like that. And just say create. And that's going to be our first animation. Perfect. So you're going to want to do that for all your other animations. So just same process, select the other animation and select process. It's going to go over the process of creating this animation. And once it's done, just export animation and same thing, anim board. And then repeat this process for all of your animations. All right, and now that we're done, I have all of my animations here. And if you want to just put them on your MetaHuman and create a cutscene or something like that, so for example, I can take Trey here, I can put him in my level, and then I can create a new level sequencer by going up here and saying add level sequence. Let's just call it test level sequence or something like that. And then I can drag and drop Trey onto my level sequence. And now we can start adding our animations to the MetaHuman directly in a level sequence. So for example, First, I need to delete the control rig for the face because I'm adding animations. Then go up to the plus here, animations, and choose any of my animations. So now we have our animation playing directly on our MetaHuman in the level. And of course, then you can use this sequencer to create takes, to create animations or full sequences. But for our use case, we want to create a system where the MetaHuman reacts with these facial expressions based on the player's input. So we're not going to bake a level sequence. But this is how you would do it if this is what you're going for. So I'm going to close that, delete my level sequence. And I also don't need this. Excellent. So now that we want our MetaHuman to play animations in runtime, we need to make montages out of all of them. So I'm going to go to my animations folder, select all my animations, right-click, and say Create Anim Montage. So now we have a montage out of all of our animations. And now, just as a test, let me show you how we play montages on runtime. So we're going to go to our BP tray, so this blueprint of our MetaHuman that was created when we imported it. And we are going to want to play an animation on the face mesh. So get the face mesh and say play montage. And let's just do a, 1 second delay on begin play and play our, happy montage. So now if I play, there's going to be a 1 second delay, and then he plays the happy montage. And that's basically it. So this is how we're going to be playing animations. But now we want to create a system where these animations are selected based on players' actions. And not only that, but we also want, as the player is moving, the player is going to do something like, steal something from this character. We want the camera to zoom in on the MetaHuman's face, show the facial expression, and then pan back to the player's camera so that we can always see the facial expressions of the MetaHuman. And to do that, we actually need to add a camera component to our skeletal mesh, so to our MetaHuman, and attach this camera component where we want it to appear in front of the face here, and then pan to that camera. But I'm going to be doing all of that. I'm not going to do it inside tray here. I'm going to do it in a separate actor component so that you can attach this actor component on any character whatsoever, and it just works out of the box. And of course, if you don't want to follow along and you just want to download this actor component, you can get it from my Patreon as well. All right, so the first step is we want to create a new blueprint class of type actor component, and let's call this the reactions component. And we're going to want to add a variable that will hold all of the animations. So this will be called the reaction animations, and it will be a montage. But not just a montage, we're going to change the variable type to be a map. And the right side of the map will be the montage, and the left side will be a name. A map is basically a key value pair. So a name matches to a specific montage. So this is basically how you use it. You create a name, for example, the happy name matches to the happy montage. Angry name matches to angry montage, and so on. But these are just default values. We're actually going to be passing them in through our main blueprint, and we'll see that in just a second. But first thing is we want to use these montages. So we're going to create a custom event and call it play reaction. And this will just play a montage based on an input that we give it. So this input will be the name of the montage that we want to play. So just reaction name and give it name. Now, how do we actually get the montage? Is getting the map that we created, saying find, and then based on the name we passed, it will find the corresponding montage to play. The next question is, well, how do we get the skeletal mesh component that the montage will be playing in? So for this, we need to actually pass it from the parent or from the owner in a new event. We're going to call this the initialize event. So this event will have a single input, which is the face mesh, skeletal mesh component. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we're creating this to be a reusable actor component so that any character can pass in their own mesh. And then we just promote it to a variable called the face mesh. And now we can use this in our play montage. But as we mentioned before, we still need to add a camera to the owner of this actor component. So Trey, for example, we want to attach a camera to the face mesh here. So we're also going to be doing that on the initialize. So we're just going to get this face mesh variable that we passed in as input and attach a camera component to it. So to do that, we get the owner, so this is the actor that owns this actor component, and we say add component by class. And the component that we want to add here is the camera component. Now we just want to make sure that we have manual attachment enabled and promote it to a variable and call it the camera component. Now this camera component also needs to be attached to the parent, and the parent is the face mesh, and make it snap to target on both location and rotation. But this will snap it to the pivot point of the face mesh, which is unfortunately at ground level. So we need to set its relative transform to then offset it a bit, and we're going to make this a variable. So again, the actor that owns this actor component can provide any value they want. So maybe one time the face mesh is high, one time it's low on a different character. So make this instant editable and expose on spawn so it can be modified by the parent. Now we are ready to switch to this camera component when we play our reaction. So we're going to get our player controller and call the function setViewTarget with blend. And this takes in as input an actor that has a camera component, which is the owner of this actor component. And it switches to their camera component, and we can just modify the blend time and the blend function to be cubic. And this is going to be instantly after we play the montage. So then we're going to copy these, and when the montage ends or when the montage is completed, we want to switch back to the original player camera. So we set the new view target to be the get player character. And that's basically it. You also might want to enable and disable the input when we switch to this new camera. So while the reaction is being played on the MetaHuman, you want the player's input to be disabled. Otherwise, they can still move around while the camera is not attached to them. And yeah, you probably don't want that. So we just call the disable input function that's on the player character and pass in the player controller. And once we return the camera to the player, we call enable input. And again, pass in our player controller. And that's basically it. So this is the core functionality of our reaction system. So let's see how we're going to now use it. So we are going to go back to our BP tray, and we are going to add the component here in the list of components. So search for our reactions component. And now we can modify all these values that we set as instance editable. So the face mesh and the camera component won't be passed in from here, but the reaction animations themselves will be passed in from here. And just to clarify, the values that we're passing here are for the specific actor, the specific class. So for BP tray, this is the value of the reaction animations. So you can have another MetaHuman that has different animations with different names. You just add the actor component to it and modify these values. So that's why we created it as an actor component to be reusable on multiple different meshes. And now on begin play, we want to get our reactions component and call our initialize function and pass in our face mesh as a variable. And now for the last configurable value, which is the offset of the camera component, so the relative transform of the camera component. Now I've already played around with these values. So on the Y here, this is how far away from the face. And on the Z, it's how high up you want to go. And the rotation is just to face the face mesh itself. So I found these values to work quite nicely. And finally, the last thing is to call our play reaction function after a short delay. So let's do a 1 second delay and call play reaction from our reactions component. And just pass in the name of the reaction we want to play here, like happy. So let's see what this looks like in game. All right, very nice. And we can of course change happy to any other name that we've passed in, like angry, and we play, boom, here's the angry animation. Excellent. And that's basically it for our core reaction system. We can now call these functions on any character from anywhere based on something that happens in game. All right, and to take it a step further, I've integrated my interaction system with this project, which I have a full tutorial series on, by the way, if you want to follow it, to show you what it's going to look like when integrated into an actual game. So here I have a shopkeeper with 3 items in front of him, and I have the option to steal one of these items, or I have the option to pay him. So let's see what this looks like when integrated into a game mechanic. So now I'm going to steal one of these items. Shopkeeper gets angry, and shopkeeper starts chasing me. So then I can say like, okay, fine, I'm gonna pay the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper happy, shopkeeper goes back. So this is basically how you would use something like this. Now you can imagine this doesn't have to be interacting or stealing or paying. It can be anything really that happens in game. But for now, this is the use case I went with. And you can think of how to use this in your game, come up with a bunch of use cases, expand on the system further. In general, just make it work with whatever you're trying to do. But this is the foundation that you will need to get this working. Amazing laugh. And there you have it, the workflow and foundations of a system that allows you to create dynamic reactions on any character in your game using footage that you acted out and captured yourself with nothing but a single camera. Now, if you want to buy the Rokoko Headcam, you'll find a link to purchase that in the description. And if you want to download the full project files for this tutorial, integrated as well with the interaction system, you can get that from my Patreon. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.